GitHub, working with GitHub Desktop. To help with common tasks of cloning, making a local copy, and applying commits, GitHub has a graphical user interface application called GitHub Desktop. Once a user logs into the app, it will track changes, allow a user to push and pull commits, and work generally between a local copy, again a clone of something, and data hosted by GitHub itself. So let's actually look at first GitHub within Firefox and then working with the GitHub Desktop application so we can see how the verbs we've learned across the two previous videos apply when we're looking at this application and working with different codes across a local clone repository and a remote one hosted on GitHub itself. So first, let's move over to Firefox. So we can see previously, as we saw in a previous video, we forked some existing code. So we currently have a single repository right here. This right here, we have our own code, which is forked from other code. Now, I have already downloaded and installed GitHub Desktop. I've also already logged into the application so we can jump directly into looking at it. So I have that pulled up right here. Notice I'm logged in with a current account and it says, hey, you have one repo, currently this one right here, MD tutorial / and then of course based on this. So as this is sort of my first time logging in and I don't have any existing cloned repositories on this computer, it's saying, hey, you can create a tutorial one, you can clone one, you can add one if you have existing one on the hard drive, or again, add an existing repository. So I want to go ahead and work with this one. So I'm going to click on this and it says, okay, well, you don't currently have it on this computer. Do you want to clone it? And I do. So let's go ahead and click on clone. And it says, okay, hey, here is this existing place. This is the local thing it's going to clone it to. So if I'm okay with those, and I am, I'm going to go ahead and click on clone and it will clone this for me. So once it's cloned a repository for the first time, it will say, hey, how are you planning to use this? Are you going to contribute to the parent project? That is, will I be attempting to create pull requests or for my own purposes? For just right now, I'm going to click on for my own purposes and click continue. So at this point, while this program is open, it will keep track of any changes made to these files. And then when I want to create a commit, which again as a review is a set of changes to files within a repository, I can say, okay, I'm willing to commit these changes, whatever these changes are. I will give it a summary and a description. So as a reminder, all commits need at least a summary, but generally should have both a summary and a description, and then I can commit that. At that point, I would then have the option to engage with the verbs we've already talked about in the previous video on terms and concepts. So we're dealing with either pushing or pulling. In the cases of changes made on a local computer and pushed to another location, in this case, I've made changes here and I want to push those changes to GitHub, I would then use push. I don't currently have any changes, so it says right here, there aren't currently any. Notice we can also keep track of what branches we're on. So we're currently on the first branch right here, made 15 hours ago. So we have our current repository, any changes right here, our history of those changes, which again, since we forked it, we have the exact changes made on the previous original repo as well. And again, we can select the branch if we had new branches or create new ones if we wanted, create pull requests between those, and I can click on fetch. But notice that we all have the current changes. So right now, everything is working exactly as we want it to. Now, if I made changes to these files, again, they would appear here. I would give it a summary at least, generally a summary and a description, click a commit. Then as a next step, push that commit from this current repo, the cloned one on the local computer, to a remote one on GitHub. So again, let's talk about what we reviewed in this video. So the GitHub Desktop application is incredibly useful for working with GitHub. So it is designed to work with the existing repositories found on GitHub generally. So as we saw, and I'll move back over to Firefox so we can double check this. we had a single repository that we created in a previous video. I then downloaded the GitHub Desktop application, logged into it using the same credentials. When I did, it gave us the choice to clone a repository, that is, make a local copy. I followed that step. Once I had, it said, okay, how are you going to use this repository? Are you going to submit changes to the original repository or create local changes? I decided to do with local changes. And then it opened up this interface right here where it will keep track of changes. We can create different commits if we want to. We could apply them to different branches if we had any, and we don't currently have that. And then if there were any commits, we could then push or pull those commits across this local clone to a remote repo. Again, remembering within Git, and especially anything depending on it, these are distributed environments, which is to say, like, one is not more important than the other. They just communicate using commits, either pushing or pulling, and then applying those changes on either end.